first steps in guiding my church towards inclusion was very messy because we were coming from a very conservative space. At the time, there was only 2 affirming people, and it was me and my son. And so by the end of the vote, and 6 months afterwards, it was actually 60% to 40% to move towards inclusion. And so not only did I not get fired to move 60% of the congregation towards inclusion, it was just an act of God. But I have to admit it was messy, it was hard, it was painful. And so every church, I think, has a different starting point. There are some churches that are farther along the way. And there are some churches that are like even, farther to the right than I was. And so it depends on your church, but I think it matters that the most important thing is to create a space where people are willing to listen. I like this quote by Dallas Willard that said, understanding is the basis of care. And I know as faith leaders, what we seek to provide to our communities is care. But we cannot care until we first understand. If my wife tells me she's not experiencing love from me, the worst thing I could say is, that's not true. I love you. I'm not the one that gets to define whether or not my wife is receiving love. She's the one that gets to tell me because, she's the one that is in the receiving side. In the same way, if there are minorities in our church, especially sexual minorities, that are saying that we are having a hard time here, we can't point to another gay person and saying, well, look at him, he's doing well. That really is, tokenizing gay people and saying, hey, just because, we're doing well with certain gay people, it doesn't mean that everyone, who identifies as LGBTQ feels just as safe. We have to pay attention to every individual story. And the more we listen, the more we pay attention, the more I think God begins to transform our hearts into seeing, all the different ways that we have done wrong. And that by listening, we can actually begin to make the initial steps towards loving people the way they ought to be loved.